Hello Lovecraftian lovers, I'm Literary Rose from I Dream of Indie, and today I'll be reviewing Source of Madness on the PC. Source of Madness is a single-player, side-scrolling dark action roguelike developed by Carrie Castle and published by Thunderful. This title was originally released on Steam for early access in September of 2021, and now it's having its final full release on not just Steam, but all major consoles. And if you are a veteran indie warrior, you may remember listening to Silent Sign's impressions of this game on the channel. But now that it's complete, let's take a comprehensive look at this madness. Source of Madness takes place in the Loam Lands, a Lovecraft-inspired world brimming with dangerous, monstrous creatures that live up to the Lovecraftian name. You play as an acolyte that seeks to open the third gate in order to access the moon and the Tower of Madness upon it. The visuals and monsters of this game are all powered by procedural generation and AI machine learning, which was a wild concept when I first learned this. Every run has different monsters, each with their own unique methods of movement and attack, making combat tense as you attempt to figure out the best way to tackle these creatures. On top of that, combat is fast. The enemies rush at you, and your character moves quickly as well. So while you might find moments to launch fireballs from afar, as I did, once the enemy is aggroed, they are on the hunt for your flesh. Another neat feature of this game is the neural network AI, which Google has informed me is essentially teaching a computer to think like a human. Totally not scary. Absolutely not. Besides the existential horror of this concept, it has led to the creation of an inscrutable art design that has an alluring, obscure quality to it. The art reminds me of Gothic and Renaissance styles, mixed with a touch of Romanesque, especially for the backgrounds of the central hub of the game. Source of Madness has an art style that is difficult to describe, which makes me glad that this is a video review. The mood that this entire title exudes, every moment feels oppressive, a sense of dread and revulsion from everything from the backgrounds to the monsters to the sound design. The art also has this touch of blurriness, but also intricate detail that scratches that fear of the unknown, of the faceless thing in the dark stalking you. This is the first title that I have found that truly encapsulates the horror and dread of the Lovecraftian style. Alright, I think I've gone on enough about how I adore the execution of this art style. Let's talk about the combat. The majority is close range, although as I mentioned earlier, you can squeeze a few long distance shots here or there if you're cheeky about it. You attack using 2 rings, each of which has distinct attack types. These attack types offer different ways of playing the game, which you can choose based on your preferred combat style. You can throw fireballs, leave poison clouds behind you, shoot thunder that stuns enemies, slash them, throw bamboo shoots, and this is just what I have unlocked so far. Besides your attack, you have a double jump, a dash with a cooldown, and various equipment to boost your stats in order to make it further in your run. Many enemies will also drop equipment, so you are incentivized to fight all foes. If the rings and equipment that enemies have dropped aren't quite up to par, there are shops where you can buy and sell items. There's also a merchant in that shop that offers to heal you, but for a price. A curse. I accidentally ended up accepting this, so I can tell you that while this curse is annoying, if there's only one, it's not exactly the end of the world. That would be the Lovecraft monsters. All of your gear must be managed through a menu system, which reminded me of both Souls titles and the original Resident Evil games. Your inventory is a grid of squares, and all items take up certain numbers of squares. Rings and robes take up the most space, while some small artifacts only take up 1. My last note on the gameplay would be controller support, which thankfully it has. I opted to play on a controller, but the game also has keyboard support. However, I personally found the combat most satisfying and intuitive on a controller. Each area of this map offers a different kind of navigational horror and design, with creatures hiding behind corners or up above out of sight before suddenly pouncing on you. The game performed without issues on my PC, and if you're having some trouble, this title offers quite a few options to hopefully improve your experience. You can change the quality of the visuals, alter or remove screen shake, mess around with the UI scale, toggle full screen on and off, and rebind the controls on your keyboard or your controller. As a roguelite, there has to be some sort of progression, and Source of Madness offers this in the form of a skill tree. You can unlock new classes, items, spells, and in order to unlock these, you must defeat enemies and collect what appears to be blood points. These blood points maintain across runs, so don't be alarmed. You can die as many times as you will, and you'll still be able to build up your funds for the next upgrade you're interested in. There's a second skill tree to the right, which primarily seems to focus on health vials, which you can unlock and upgrade, adding more dashes or more jumps, and a few other abilities that for now seem to require a different form of currency that I have yet to encounter in the game. Finally, the music. It feels almost cheap to call this just haunting. It is eerie, unnerving, and a work of art. This definitely isn't music I would listen to in my free time unless I was trying to trigger an anxiety attack, but these compositions are truly skillful. They add another layer of horror to this title, and each element within builds upon one another. Source of Madness is like a high-quality movie in that you don't immediately notice all of the moving parts. The cinematography, the sound effects, the inflection of the actors, because they blend so seamlessly together. As a reviewer, I have found that I have a deep respect for developers that can achieve such a balanced game, that can impress upon the player a mood that is reinforced by every single element of the gaming experience. Carrie Castle have more than achieved this. If what you're seeing speaks to you, I encourage you to play Source of Madness. This title is like no other.
Surviving on YouTube making clickbait-free independent content is not easy. We can't do it without our brave indie warriors and legends that support us through channel memberships. Thank you to Indie Warriors, Bill, Christian Cruz, Adriana Amato, CJR, PSC, Julian Kolbis, Jesse, Ray Lynn, Marky Mint, Dave Harp, Peekaboo, Lex Noyle, and King of the Hatch, and the brave indie legends Jen Rose, Larkison, Mitchell Hall, Peach, Skepticism, C. Coyle, Nathan Moore, Chris Jackson, Mr. W, Blue Francis 14, the Beefarinis, Business Cody, Carmine Red, and Jace Glover. Thank you so much for all that you do for independent developers, publishers, and for I Dream of Indie. Everybody else, head down to the description box below where you too can become an indie warrior or legend yourself and help us bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming.